and welcome to part 7 of the Chalice of Blood Warhammer 40,000 narrative campaign, brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. If you haven't yet watched parts 1 to 6, we would recommend you do so, but to briefly recap, we are on the world of Calicum Tertius, known as the Chalice, where the World Eaters are seeking to destroy their former brothers, the Raven Guard. So far, the World Eaters have decisively defeated both the Raven Guard in a slaughter at their drop site and the Grey Knights as they launched a teleport attack on the Traitors' command centre. Following bloody street fighting between the Raven Guard and the World Eaters in the ruins of Firelight City, the Ravens have, with the aid of the surviving Grey Knights, managed to break through the Traitors and have been striking back. In revenge for the fallen Raven Guard captain and Grey Knights Grand Master, the loyal sons of the Imperium have slain the World Eaters captain. But the Traitors on this world are now under the command of a powerful Psyker, formerly a member of the Legion's Librarius. The battle today is a custom scenario, as the Traitor's new commander faces a challenge to his leadership in typical World Eaters fashion: bloody combat. But the Grey Knights have found them as well. Let's take a look at the armies and the scenario rules. This 850 point Grey Knights Nemesis strike force are the remnants of the Sixth Brotherhood on this planet, and they are desperate to destroy the World Eater's fallen Psyker. Brother Captain Laertes himself has taken command. He is a Grey Knight's brother captain in Terminator armour with a Nemesis Force sword, and he has brought 2 elite choices. A squad of 3 paladins, 2 of them have Nemesis Falchions, and the third has a Psy cannon, and a squad of 6 purifiers, perfect for putting traitor Space Marines to the sword. For his troops choices, he has brought along a squad of Terminators. They have 4 Nemesis Halberds and a Silencer, and their Justicar has Nemesis Falchions. And the final squad in this strike force is a Grey Knights strike squad. There are 6 of them, and they all have Nemesis Force Halberds. Will this be enough to destroy the traitorous World Eaters commander? We shall see. Let's take a look at the World Eaters defending the shrine at Lorix Magna. This 850 point World Eaters Legion list are the defenders of the shrine at Lorix Magna, and they have brought along 1 World Eaters tactical squad of 10. They have bolt pistols and chain axes, and another identical squad for their second troops choice. And this force also has 3 elite choices: a squad of Cataphracti Terminators. They have a Reaper autocannon, 2 sets of lightning claws and 3 power fists, and 2 other elite slots are filled by a squad of 6 veteran tactical marines. They have the snipers, veteran tactic, and a melter gun, and another squad of 6 veteran tactical marines with snipers and a melter gun. You may have noticed there are no HQs in this force, but the World Eaters will be fielding 2 HQ choices in this scenario, as we shall explain as we move into deployment and the scenario rules. And the armies have deployed, with the Grey Knights deploying first, but as they're fielding a Nemesis strike force, they have elected to keep their entire army in reserve and arrive by deep strike. Meanwhile, the World Eaters have come pouring out of the shrine of Lorix Magna. The scenario rules mean they must deploy in the central shrine or one of its outlying ruined wings, and they have done so. The Terminators in their Cataphracti plate have come stomping through to take cover behind this ruined section, and over this side, a squad of 10 tactical marines with their chain axes roaring have sprinted to secure this perimeter. Another squad of 10 have deployed in the other wing to the rear of the shrine, and the final wing is occupied by a World Eaters veteran squad with the Sniper's Doctrine. The final veteran squad is deploying in the top floors of the central part of the shrine itself. They are hoping to gun down the arriving Grey Knights. So the World Eaters have deployed, and This force represents the personal retinues of both Arian and Calvez, and they are fighting a duel to the death in the ruins of the central shrine building. Arian is a Legion Centurion, upgraded to a level 3 Psyker. He has his 4 sacks, artificer armour and a refractor field. And Calvez is a Legion Centurion. He has a power fist, artificer armour and a refractor field and a combi melter. But as this is a fight to the death, we are giving these two special rules to represent their duel. They will both have Eternal Warrior and a 4+ invulnerable save against attacks from each other. As the World Eaters already have 850 points to match the Grey Knights, whoever wins this duel will join the fight on the side of the World Eaters, and that will give them a points advantage. Meanwhile, the Grey Knight's objective is to destroy Arian, or if Calvez manages to hack him down, surely he will be the one to face the Grey Knight's wrath. The Grey Knight's deployed first, so unless the World Eaters can seize the initiative, we will be going into Grey Knights turn 1. End of Grey Knight's movement phase, turn 1, and following the World Eaters' failure to seize the initiative, the Grey Knights have begun their teleport attack. The Purifiers have arrived and they have their sights set on this squad of veteran World Eaters holding this wing of the ruined shrine. They are supported by a very aggressive deep strike by the strike squad. Meanwhile, Brother Captain Laertes and the Paladins were more inaccurate. They scattered back away from the central shrine buildings. They have some ground to cover. And the only unit in the Grey Knight strike force that has failed to arrive in the first turn are the Terminators. But as this is a Nemesis strike force, the Grey Knights will be able to both shoot and run this turn. But first, we have Grey Knight's Psychic phase, turn 1. End of Grey Knight's Psychic phase, turn 1, and a very low roll for warp charges meant that the Purifiers threw all 6 dice into Cleansing Flame, but they failed to get it off successfully, with only 1 dice being 4 or more. So, a reprieve for the World Eaters. Let's see if the Grey Knights can do better in Grey Knight's Shooting phase, turn 1. End of Grey Knight Shooting phase, turn 1, and it has certainly been a lot more effective than their first Psychic phase. The Purifiers gun down 3 World Eaters veterans with their Storm Bolters and are advancing towards this side of the Shrine Complex. Meanwhile, the Strike Squad, they took out another 2 World Eaters from the same squad and they have sprinted forward 6 inches. They are now in the outer lying ruined sections of this shrine. That left 1 World Eaters veteran with his melter gun still alive, but he was gunned down by a long range shot from the Paladin with a Psy Cannon, and Laertes has led his Paladins forward another 2 inches. We have no assaults as the duel between Arian and Calvez, unless there's any Grey Knights involved, they will only fight in the World Eaters' turn. So that brings Grey Knights turn 1 to a close. They have done well in their first turn. How will the World Eaters respond going into World Eaters turn 1? End of World Eaters movement phase, turn 1, and furious at the arrival of the Grey Knights, the traitors have sprung into action. The Cataphracti Terminators have stomped 5 inches through the ruined outer lying shrine buildings to bring their weaponry to bear on the Purifiers. Meanwhile, in the top floors of the central shrine structure, the veteran World Eaters are moving to bring their bolters to bear on the Grey Knight strike squad. But this squad has bigger problems as this World Eaters tactical squad are moving quickly through the ruins towards them, and it looks like we are going to see a first turn charge. Meanwhile, the other World Eaters tactical squad, they are determined that the interloping Sons of Titan will not interrupt their commander's duel of honour, so they have moved to form a screen on this side of the shrine complex. The World Eaters have the advantage of numbers at the moment. Will it be telling? We will see, but first we expect Arian to use his psychic powers to win this duel. Going into World Eater's Psychic phase, turn 1. End of World Eater's Psychic Phase, turn 1, and Arian attempted to use all 5 of his dice to give himself warp speed, but he was only successful with 1 charge, and sensing the build-up of power, the Grey Knights have denied it. Maybe they think they can rely on Calvez to take out Arian, and then he will be easier for them to kill. We don't know, but we shall see. First, we go into World Eater's Shooting Phase, turn 1. End of World Eater's Shooting Phase, turn 1, and the blessed armour of the Grey Knights has proven impervious to all of their bolter shells. The Cataphractii Terminators open fire on the Purifiers, causing a couple of wounds with their bolters and another couple of wounds with the Reaper autocannon, but the Grey Knights made all their saves. The World Eater's Tactical Squad advancing towards the Grey Knight Strike Squad open fire with their bolters, and the Grey Knights once again made all of their armour saves. And the same was true when the Veterans opened fire. They got no rending shots despite having the Sniper's Veteran tactic, so their bolters had no effect on the Strike Squad, but finally the brother with a melter gun leaned over the parapet and melted one of the Grey Knights. But a very, very disappointing phase for the World Eaters, and let's see if their first assault phase is more effective. End of World Eater's Assault Phase, turn 1, and the Tactical Squad made it in to the Grey Knight Strike Squad. They lost 1 World Eater to a volley of Overwatch shots, and 2 more were hacked down by the Grey Knights Nemesis Force Halberds, but in return the World Eaters managed to kill 2 of the Sons of Titan with their chain axes, making it a drawn combat. They remain locked. Meanwhile, the Cataphractii Terminators attempted to charge the Purifiers. They took no damage from the Overwatch, but could not cover the distance in their hulking plate armour. And the duel has begun, although it has begun very poorly for Centurion Calvez. He missed with all 3 of his Power Fist attacks, and although Arian had been denied his chance to get warp speed, he managed to hit twice with his Force Axe and deal 1 wound to his opponent. So it looks like Arian is having the better of this duel, but anything can happen. Let's see if the Grey Knights' last Terminator squad arrives in Grey Knights turn 2. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 2, and their Terminator squad has once again failed to arrive. So the Grey Knights are pressing home their attack on the Shrine Complex with everything they have. The Purifiers have advanced 6 inches through cover. They are trying to bring as many World Eaters as possible into range of their cleansing flame. And with the Strike Squad locked in combat and outnumbered by World Eaters, Laertes is leading his Paladins, stomping forward to his brother's aid. Not many units on the table for either side. Let's see if there's even less after Grey Knights Psychic Phase turn 2. End of Grey Knights Psychic Phase turn 2, and as the Purifiers threw all 7 of the Grey Knights dice into their cleansing flame, they were rewarded by 7 successfully harnessed warp charges, meaning that Arian was utterly unable to do anything to deny the power which washed out from the Purifiers, taking 3 of the World Eaters down who are in combat with the Grey Knight Strike Squad. Another 3 of the veterans from the first floor of the central shrine building, and 1 of the hulking Cataphractii Terminators was also brought down by the flames. But as the flames washed over the 2 dueling World Eaters on the ground floor of the central shrine building, their artificer armour proved up to the task, and both of them were unharmed. So, an effective psychic phase for the Grey Knights. Disappointing that neither Arian nor Calvez were injured, but nevertheless a lot of World Eaters went down to a single psychic power. Let's see if the Grey Knights can enjoy similar success in their second shooting phase. End of Grey Knight shooting phase turn 2, and as brother Captain Laertes and his paladins intend to intervene in an ongoing combat, they have not fired. Neither obviously have the Strike Squad that are still locked. The Purifiers Well, they were tempted to attempt to charge and intervene in the duel, but they realised that the Terminators are very close to them and present a formidable threat. So they opened fire on them with their storm bolters and managed to shoot one of the hulking enemy warriors down. But at least it was the Terminator with the Reaper autocannon. So we have an ongoing assault and the intervention of Brother Captain Laertes in Grey Knight's assault phase turn 2. End of Grey Knight's assault phase turn 2, and the intervention of Brother Captain Laertes and his paladins proved decisive, as all the remaining World Eaters in the tactical squad were cut down. But at least the World Eaters managed to take out one more member of the Strike Squad. The Strike Squad has consolidated 4 inches and is actually in the central building now, and Brother Captain Laertes and his paladins have moved up another inch. The Grey Knights, they are putting real pressure now on this shrine complex. The World Eaters desperately need this duel to finish one way or another. Let's see, going into World Eaters turn 2. End of World Eaters movement phase turn 2, and the Cataphracti Terminators are stomping towards the Purifiers. They are trusting to their mighty Terminator armour to protect them from the Nemesis Force Swords as they prepare to charge. The veterans on the roof, they have held position and they are lining up to gun down the 2 remaining members of the Strike Squad before they can intervene in the Duel of Honour, and being very careful not to get in the way of the 2 warring World Eaters officers. The other tactical squad have abandoned their position on this side and they are moving through. They need to stem the tide of Grey Knights that are moving through the complex. Looks like the World Eaters are under a huge amount of pressure, but let's see how they get on. Can Arian end this duel with warp speed in World Eaters Psychic Phase turn 2. End of World Eaters Psychic Phase turn 2, and Arian, he put 5 dice into casting warp speed. He was successful with 3 warp charges. The Grey Knights were unable to deny it this time. Could this be the end for Assault Centurion Calvez? We shall see. But first we have World Eaters Shooting Phase turn 2. End of World Eaters Shooting Phase turn 2, and fortunately these World Eaters got a 6-inch run. They have run past the 2 leaders that are duelling and they have formed a screen between them and the advancing Grey Knights. Meanwhile, a highly accurate volley from the veterans on the roof has taken out both remaining members of the Strike Squad with a couple of rending sniper hits, but the Terminators with their 1 remaining combi bolter could not take down any Purifiers as they prepare to charge. Let's see, have the World Eaters done enough to stem the tide? Going into World Eaters Assault Phase turn 2. End of World Eaters Assault Phase turn 2, and the Cataphracti Terminators made it in to the Purifiers. The Purifiers hacked down the Terminator with a power fist as they came smashing through the wall, but the 2 remaining Cataphracti with their 8 attacks with their lightning claws managed to take out all 6 Purifiers. Have these Terminators saved the day for the World Eaters? Well, it remains to be seen, but in a surprising turn of events, Arian, under the influence of warp speed, rained blow after blow onto Calvez with his force axe, but the Centurion made all of his invulnerable saves, and in return he smashed Arian once with his power fist, wounding him. So this duel looks set to continue, but now it is Brother Captain Laertes who desperately needs his Terminators to arrive in Grey Knights turn 3. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 3, and with a roll of a 1, the Grey Knights Terminators have once again failed to arrive, and Brother Captain Laertes is beginning to suspect that they never will. He and his paladins have only got a 2-inch move through cover roll. They are advancing. They do not want to get bogged down fighting the 2 remaining Cataphracti. They want to get stuck into the large tactical squad that have interposed themselves between the dueling World Eaters officers and the Emperor's vengeance. There really are only 4 Grey Knights on the table now, so let's see if Laertes and his Paladins can achieve anything in Grey Knights Psychic Phase turn 3. End of Grey Knights Psychic Phase turn 3, and the Paladins attempted to cast Hammer Hand on themselves. They used 4 dice but were only successful once, and Arian managed to deny it. They used their last 2 dice to try to cast Sanctuary, but were unsuccessful. A very, very bad Psychic Phase for the Grey Knights. Can they make up for it going into Grey Knights Shooting Phase turn 3? End of Grey Knight Shooting Phase turn 3, and the Paladins and Laertes open fire with their Psy Cannon and their Storm Bolters. They managed to gun down 3 of the World Eaters in the ruined central building, and they are preparing to charge. They're 6 inches away. They will need an 8. Can they make it in Grey Knights Assault Phase turn 3? End of Grey Knights Assault Phase turn 3, and Brother Captain Laertes and his Paladins successfully barged their way through the shrine walls and into the World Eaters, but the captain failed to take out any with his Nemesis Force Sword, and in return the furious World Eaters hit with 12 out of their 14 attacks and managed to drag down a Paladin. In return, 5 World Eaters were slain by the Nemesis Falchions, but the 2 remaining members of the tactical squad, they have held morale. So the duel can continue. The Grey Knights are locked up, and we go into World Eaters turn 3. End of World Eaters movement phase turn 3, and there are only 3 Grey Knights on the table, and all of the World Eaters have them in their sights. The Cataphracti Terminators, they are crunching round to charge the Paladins from behind, and even the veteran tactical snipers from the roof, they have dropped down. They are going to charge as well. The World Eaters' only chance now is to take these Paladins and Laertes out with weight of attacks. And meanwhile, Arian's duel continues. Can he defeat Calvez this turn, or will he himself be killed? We shall see, but first we have a chance for Arian to get warp speed off again. World Eaters Psychic Phase turn 3. End of World Eaters Psychic Phase turn 3, and Arian, through all 8 dice, are getting off warp speed again. He wants to finish Calvez in this assault phase. He perilled, but managed to make his leadership test, so he is fine, and the power has successfully taken effect. We have no shooting at all, so we go straight into World Eaters Assault Phase turn 3. End of World Eaters Assault Phase turn 3, and it has been carnage. As the Cataphracti waded in, Laertes bellowed a challenge, but he could not harm the sergeant of the World Eaters Terminators and was wounded in return. Meanwhile, the charging World Eaters veterans, they managed to drag down a Paladin with their attacks, but in return the last remaining Paladin hacked all 3 of them down. The Grey Knights won the combat, but both the Cataphracti Terminator and the surviving World Eaters Tactical Marines have not broken, but the big news is Arian has triumphed. Although Calvez managed to hit him again with his Power Fist, he rolled a 1 to wound, and in return, under the effect of warp speed, Arian rained blow after blow with his Force Axe onto the Centurion, eventually hacking him down. And being a World Eater, Arian has consolidated an inch towards Laertes and the last remaining Paladin. This game has brought carnage to the shrine at Lorix Magna, but it's not over yet. We go into Grey Knights turn 4 and the automatic arrival of their last Terminator squad. Is this going to be enough to see the end of the World Eaters Librarian? We shall see. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 4, and with Laertes and his last Paladin locked in combat, the only movement we have had from the Grey Knights is the arrival of their Terminator squad. They tried to deep strike on the edge of the complex, but they have scattered 10 inches directly away, meaning that they are going to have no choice but to try and take out the fallen Psyker with a volley of fire as they run towards the shrine. But first we have Grey Knight's Psychic Phase, turn 4. End of Grey Knight's Psychic Phase, turn 4, and with the game in its current state, the only power of any use to the Grey Knights was Hammer Hand, and they have successfully summoned it upon the Paladin and Brother Captain Laertes. So that should be sufficient for them to deal with the last of the World Eaters holding them up, and then it will just be Arion on his own. But he may potentially be gunned down before that in Grey Knight's Shooting Phase, turn 4. End of Grey Knight Shooting Phase, turn 4, and Arion is still standing. The Terminators ran forward 3 inches and opened fire with their silencer and all of their Stormbolters. They managed to inflict 4 wounds, but his Artificer armour saved him. He was unwounded. So, disappointing from the Grey Knights, but it looks like they have the upper hand. Can they finish off these World Eaters in Grey Knight's Assault Phase, turn 4? End of Grey Knight's Assault Phase, turn 4, and these World Eaters just will not die. Laertes is still in his challenge with the Cataphractii Sergeant, but neither has the necessary weaponry to penetrate each other's hulking Terminator plate, it seems. They did no damage to each other. Meanwhile, despite Hammer Hand being in effect, the lone remaining Paladin only managed to hack down 1 World Eater, and he was wounded in return. So the combat is drawn, and the Grey Knights do not seem to be making any progress at all. But that doesn't alter the fact that all the World Eaters have is 1 Tactical Marine, the Terminator Sergeant, and a wounded Arion. What can they do going into their 4th turn? End of World Eater's movement phase, turn 4, and the only World Eater free to move is Arion himself. The Cataphractii Sergeant and the last Tactical Marine remain locked. But Arion has a plan. He is moving to put as much distance between himself and the advancing Terminators as possible, while making sure they are in range of his Biomancy powers Smite and Life Leech. He is going to unleash his full psychic potential upon these Grey Knights. Will they be able to survive? We will see as we go into World Eater's Psychic Phase, turn 4. End of World Eater's Psychic Phase, turn 4, and a roll of 1 for warp charges was ideal for Arion's purposes. That gave both him and the Grey Knights 4 dice, and he started off by using 2 to cast Smite, which the Grey Knights failed to deny, and the Terminator Justicar paid with his life. He then followed it up with Life Leech, which he cast with 2 dice, and once again, despite rerolls from the Aegis, the Terminators failed, and another Terminator had the life sucked from him. More importantly, Arion is healed. So, now that he is released from the duel, he is proving to be a very, very tricky proposition for the Sons of Titan. Let's see if Laertes and his last Paladin can finally break free of the World Eaters in World Eater's Assault Phase, turn 4. End of World Eater's Assault Phase, turn 4, and it looks like the Emperor has deserted Laertes and his Grey Knights. The last Paladin managed to hit the World Eater Tactical Marine only once, and he rolled a 1 to wound. In return, the World Eater hefted his chain axe and took the Paladin's last wound. Meanwhile, Laertes managed 2 wounds on the Terminator Sergeant, but once again his Force Sword could not penetrate the ancient Cataphractii plate, and in return the Terminator Sergeant has wounded Laertes once again with his Lightning Claws. Laertes only has 1 wound left. So, could it be that the Grey Knights have made a mistake in coming to this shrine at Lorix Magna? We shall see. Going into the Grey Knights' final turn, Grey Knights, turn 5. End of Grey Knight's movement phase, turn 5, and with Laertes still locked in combat with the World Eaters in the shrine, the only movement is the advance of the Grey Knights' Terminators. They still have Arion in their sights of their Stormbolters and, crucially, their Silencer. Will we see them summoning force in their psychic phase? We think so. Grey Knight's psychic phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knight's psychic phase, turn 5, and with 9 dice, the Terminators, they use 7 of them to successfully cast force with 3 successful warp charges. Arion threw all of his dice into trying to deny it, but failed. These Terminators are now under the effect of force, and Laertes used final 2 dice to give himself hammer hand once again. This game is going right down to the wire. Let's see if these Terminators can gun down the fearsome World Eaters Librarian in Grey Knight shooting phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knight shooting phase, turn 5, and it looks like they have failed in their mission. Although the brother with the silencer managed to get 4 hits and 3 wounds on Arion. With a 5 and 2 6s, his artificer armour deflected the lethal shots. The other 2 brothers opened fire with their storm bolters, managing another 2 wounds, but again his armour held. He remains unwounded. So the Psyker still stands, but will the Grey Knight's brother captain survive? Grey Knight's assault phase, turn 5. End of Grey Knight's assault phase, turn 5, and the combat rages on. Laertes is still in a challenge with the Cataphracti Sergeant. He managed another wound with his force sword, but once again could not penetrate the plate armour. In return, the Sergeant wounded him twice, but he made both his armour saves, and the last Tactical Marine failed to make any impression on the Grey Knight's brother captain. So the Grey Knights have had all their turns, but we think it's only fair to give Arion a chance to take out Laertes going into World Eaters, turn 5. End of World Eaters movement phase, turn 5, and Arion is the only World Eater not locked in combat. He has moved into the cover of the ruined shrine building. He has made sure that his Witchfire powers are in range of the advancing Terminators, and then he intends to charge brother Captain Laertes and finish him off. Can the 3 remaining World Eaters triumph over 4 Grey Knights? Well, the next phase will be crucial. World Eaters Psychic Phase, turn 5. End of World Eaters Psychic Phase, turn 5, and Arion began by using 4 of his 8 dice to successfully cast Smite on the Terminators, but the lightning had no effect on the formidable Grey Knights. He then followed it up by successfully casting Life Leech, which the Grey Knights failed to deny, but again the Terminators proved too resilient for the power. So neither Witchfire has had any effect, but at least Arion can perhaps content himself with hacking down Laertes in World Eaters Assault Phase, turn 5. End of World Eaters Assault Phase, turn 5, and brother Captain Laertes has gone down. He once again hammered his Nemesis Force Sword against the Cataphracti Sergeant, but once again could not penetrate the Terminator armour. The Cataphracti and the last remaining World Eater Tactical Marine could not get through Laertes' armour and take his last wound, but Arion's Force Axe had no such problem. He has taken the brother captain's head. And at the end of turn 5, this game draws to a close. Arion stands triumphant. He has taken out the challenger, Assault Centurion Calvez, and he has slain the Grey Knight's brother captain. And what's more, he has found what he has been looking for in the shrine at Lorix Magna. So the World Eaters, they are triumphant today. The Grey Knights are a spent force. Where will the Imperial forces on the world of Calicum Tertius go from here? Thanks very much for watching. We hope you're enjoying the Chalice of Blood narrative campaign. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!